Welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb, a community of folks like yourselves who are getting ready and staying ready for their next chapter. Before I continue with this episode, I want to just put a disclaimer out there that this episode will be dealing with domestic violence.
It's a shocking number. 1 in 3 women in the U.S. will experience abuse by their partner. But it's something we don't really hear about until it's a celebrity case. In 2021, Alleah Taylor was left for dead after her boyfriend, former NFL star Chad Wheeler, attacked her. 2 years later, Chad has finally been found guilty. This week, another high-profile case is making headlines. Keke Palmer has filed court documents saying her ex-boyfriend and father to their son physically attacked her multiple times. She says this surveillance footage from her home shows 2 attacks. The first, an alleged struggle from this week, and the second, a moment where she says she was choked and body slammed. For now, a judge has granted her a temporary restraining order. Keke's ex, Darius Jackson, is denying the allegations and has not been charged. To give us more insight into what Keke and so many other women like her might be going through, please welcome back to the show, Alleah Taylor. Thank you, Aaliyah.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Aaliyah, it's so good to see you. When the news of Keke's alleged abuse broke, what were your first thoughts?
Oh, prayers, really. Just hearing about anyone having to go through any form of domestic violence, I just want to pray for them and hope that they have community around them to protect them. So that was just my first thoughts. It's just sitting prayers.
So Aaliyah, having walked through the court system with your own case, what advice do you have for Keke or other women who take their partner to trial?
Yeah, I say please have patience. It is quite a long process. I think every state is having to deal with a backlog right now due to COVID. So I think a lot of these cases are going to take over a year to really be seen. So I say have patience. Please be mindful to be present in your life as well. I think it's pretty difficult to have to relive through that trauma kind of over and over again throughout the process. And then also maybe seek therapy, seek community, genuine supportive community that'll keep you safe, but then also help you be mindful in that process of change. So
life-saving advice. And your insight gives me goosebumps. So you survived your abuse, but how does that type of experience change your love life moving forward?
Yeah, I think that it definitely depends on how you want to take that experience. For me, I like to look at things more of a positive, progressive way. So I like to look at, what can I do to kind of avoid these situations as well, and maybe look for red flags and green flags as well, the positive in relationships, and then also be mindful of where I am as well in that process of change. So I definitely think that it will alter the way you receive and love others, but hopefully for the better.
Well, speaking of red flags, Keke said that she was love bombed by Darius, meaning that he showered her with love and gifts and compliments. Is that something that you should be mindful of as a warning that maybe your partner's trying to do something nefarious?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, especially with something like this that's so public, you really do want a sense of community. You really do want to be acknowledged and supported. And with the love bombing, you are being showered with compliments, being showered with love, and support that isn't genuine. It's meant to later on manipulate you. So if that is something that she has experienced, again, I really do hope that she has genuine community around her to instill, that genuine support, that genuine connection with others, so that it doesn't alter the way that she, receives and gives love later on.
Aaliyah, the last time that we spoke, you said that you didn't know what closure was in your case. So do you know what it is now?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I remember discussing this yesterday. Although Chad had been put in custody last week, just the other day, I had taken off my GPS monitoring app that lets me know Chad gets within a certain mile radius of me. And it just took me a while to actually process that that he's incarcerated and that I can be free.
Congratulations on that step.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
A huge first step. Yep.
That peace of mind is the start of everything.
And so much time, too. Aaliyah, we wish we could talk to you longer. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story and being such an advocate. DBL Nation, we want to make it clear. At the time of this taping, Keke's ex, Darius, has not been charged. And if you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, there are people who can help. Please call the number on your screen. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
On Daily Blast Live, we had the honor of reconnecting with Alleah Taylor, who we spoke with almost 2 years ago after she made the news for reasons that were not in her control and very tragic and unfortunate. Alleah Taylor was left for dead after her boyfriend, former NFL star Chad Wheeler, attacked her at her home in January of 2021. She was strangled, beaten, and her left arm was dislocated. She was able to call 911 while hiding in her bathroom. Chad said he was having a manic episode after he was arrested. He blamed his bipolar diagnosis. The last time we spoke with Aaliyah was March of 2021, just 2 months after she was attacked. I spoke with her earlier today on DBL, and nearly 2 years later, Chad has finally been found guilty of assaulting her. He is yet to be sentenced. Alleah Taylor, welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for being here. I know we spoke earlier, and when you're talking about a daytime talk show, it's very short form. I wanted to give you an opportunity to really expound on everything that's taken place in the past 2 years, as well as your comeback story. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I mean, it means a lot that people do want to learn more about domestic violence and want to, kind of make it not so much of a taboo topic. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you. So I'm going to start with, was it hard to see Chad at the court hearings?
Oh, yeah, that was super difficult. I'm going to be honest. Just, I haven't seen him in years, only when he's violated some of his court terms.
So he has violated some of the orders.
Yeah.
And by that you mean seeing you.
He has gone on rampages, he's ripped off his ankle monitor, things like that, or has there's one time where he tried to move into my neighborhood. So I guess, there's been a lot of things throughout the years, unfortunately, but actually having to testify and relive the trauma right in front of him was pretty difficult, I'll be honest.
Now, obviously, it would be difficult for any survivor of domestic violence or any survivor of any crime. But because it's such an intimate attack, was he responding to you in any way? What was his demeanor in the courtroom?
Yeah, I have to say at first it was, to the first day, he was kind of emotionless a bit, just seemed very stoic. On the second day that I testified, he seemed upset. Didn't seem sad, he just seemed very upset. And by the third day, same kind of reaction, still very upset. I didn't really get to see any saddening emotions from him too much. For the most part, he was stoic.
And what about his family?
That was interesting. Just interactions between him and his father and his brother, and his sister was there too. I'm not too sure if I can speak on some of the things that I encountered, but it was quite intimidating for sure throughout the trial and me having to be present near them and whatnot.
Coming from his side, because you did have a communication, some type of relationship with his family before this incident transpired.
I did share some texts with his dad the night of the incident as well.
Okay, so I won't have you expound on that if you're not comfortable doing that, and I can understand there being some discomfort with that. What was the excuse Chad's team gave for that night?
Oh yeah, I believe it was just them mostly focusing on mental health and craving um, that he didn't need to do what he did. Um, but it was kind of clear, that was not the case. And thanks to, I'm very grateful that I had the chance to share my testimony and be able to share, the facts behind the case, and being able to have that perspective, as well as like our doctors. I'm so grateful for the state and our prosecution team. They really poured in a lot of resources. So I think with all those things tied in, the jury was able to come to a very grateful or guilty verdict.
So this was a jury trial.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And during that, anytime you're in a jury or you have to sit for a jury trial, there's always some type of tells or, affect about the jury. Did you notice anything about maybe different members of the jury at all?
No, I was Washington's pretty much like a melting pot, so it didn't seem like anything biased, anything. I felt like they're very receptive. I felt like it was very fair. So yeah, I didn't, I'm very grateful for that. It was very hard to relive all the trauma, and to have people around that were receptive and respectful and very open. I think even there were some times where some jurors were very emotional, almost started crying during my testimony. So they're very receptive and I think very fair and open-minded to both sides. Yeah.
And it was a 3-day trial, you said?
No, I testified for 3 days, but it lasted longer. Yeah.
Oh, how many days was you? So you were forced to take the stand for 3 days.
3 days, yeah. His lawyer held no mercy at all for me. Like, it was, it felt a little bit like torture having to relive it for 3 days like that. But yeah.
Of course. How many hours do you guesstimate you were on the stand?
Oh yeah, trial starts around 9. We were done until almost 5, about 4-ish. Yeah.
Each day from 9 to 5, you were on the stand?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we let out around like 4-ish. But yeah, several hours. It really does feel a bit like 4 It's just, yeah.
And did he take the stand?
I'm not quite sure if he is. Because I'm like a witness. I'm not able to be in court throughout the whole process. I can totally ask if like who else testified, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
I am like seriously taken aback that you were on trial or on the stand for 3 days. It kind of feels like you were on trial because 3 days being on the stand from like 9 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever that was, feels like you were the one who was being tried. Did you ever feel that way?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Especially his lawyer, like I said, held no mercy at all. Like there's times where he's even yelling at me or pointing at me or, just kind of trying to get me to kind of say things that would agree with him. But I'm just like, no, I have to stick to the truth. I have to stick to what happened. I can't just be intimidated into agreeing with you, even under all this pressure. So yeah, it was very difficult, but I'm very grateful that I just kind of stuck to my guns and stayed grounded.
Wow. When people say you're stronger than you know, I mean, to be violated in the way that you were, and then to further be violated on the stand, I am sorry. I don't
Chad
know.
right there. Yeah, it was just so difficult. But I just stared him down. And I just especially during the 911 call while it was playing, I just stared him down and just let him know, no, I don't think that this is going to be what breaks me or makes me not show up to court tomorrow. I will be back. I will be back, and I will win this. I just didn't want him to think that you having your lawyer trying to yell or intimidate me or berate me, it's not going to break me. So I'm very grateful that I stuck through it.
Amazing. I'm grateful for your strength as well. When you were staring him down, was he looking at you?
Oh, he tried a little bit and then just put his head down. Um, and so I just stayed staring at him, staring at his lawyer. And I just, it was very emotional, very uncomfortable, I'm sure, for everyone in the courtroom. But I did not break ice. I didn't break anything. I'm just like, listen to this. Do you hear me panting? Do you hear me like screaming for help? Like, how could you be so stoic throughout this, So yeah, I just wanted them to see him and see, how he handles those kind of things. And yeah, I'm just very proud of myself. Honestly,
Yeah.
as I think back, I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe I did that.
Well, we are all very proud of you. Honestly, Aaliyah, we are all very proud of you. What words of advice would you give to someone who is a survivor of domestic violence, who is going to court with the person who violated them? How did you have a community around you? What gave you the strength to sit on the stand for 3 days?
Yeah, I say, honestly, my faith, number one. I try to lean. I always have this state leaning into discomfort, it helps build character. It helps build, those qualities in you that can help during stressful, situations, coping mechanisms, I guess you can call them. So it's best to lean into that discomfort. And then also just try to be present for yourself too. It's going to be difficult reliving that trauma. Like I said before, I think a lot of states are still dealing with the COVID backlog. And due to that, a lot of trials are being postponed or having to be pushed back. So this could be a longer process than what it normally would be.
Yeah.
So I would say try your best to be present in your life. Try your best to be mindful of your goals and be mindful of where you are throughout that process of change. Because it can be very difficult. It can feel like it's dragging you on.
Of course.
And within being present, in your own life, also maybe seek therapy, maybe be mindful of the community that's around you. Because it's going to be very difficult. You're going to need to have a sense of strength within you. You can't I don't want anyone to be too dependent on leaning on others. I don't want them to put the trauma onto anyone else. Really be focused on healing and being present throughout that plan.
You said so many important things. One thing that a lot of people don't think about is how long it takes to get justice. And to add on to the backlog of COVID, it's like justice delayed also means trauma prolonged. So
Yes.
I think that's very important for people to understand that, so it manages the expectation. What conversations do you hope your case starts about abuse and mental illness?
Yeah, I want it to definitely be I want people to be more mindful about how they treat themselves, how they communicate with other people. If it is a concern of theirs when it comes to mental health, I want them to be mindful of the community that they have around them. There's some things that are going to come out during this case that kind of show how important a good community is, and having people around you that truly do love you and care about you and want you to succeed. So if you are having a mental health concern, I definitely think that you should tap into your resources. If you're like Chad Lax and you're an NFL player, you have access to the best of the best healthcare. Do not take that for granted. There's thousands of people that hope and pray every day that they can go see a therapist and have the right medication, the right dosage, because it takes a while to get the right dosage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that hope and pray that they have those resources. Don't take that for granted. Lean on our community, and then also be communicator, and talk about that with the people around you so that they can be mindful and be safe as well. So yeah, I think that's something, number one, that I would like to maybe discuss with people. And then also I want people to be mindful of power and control within relationships.
Yes.
And just how domestic violence begins. and to be mindful of red flags and green flags within that relationship and within the community around them.
When you say power of control, can you be more specific about what that means to you?
Yeah, definitely. I believe that domestic violence begins with an imbalance of power and control within the relationship. So let's say like me up against with my ex, he has access to the best of the best doctors when it comes to the reports for this case, best of the best lawyers that can come up with all different kind of clauses, kind of legal terminology that can prolong this process, prolong the trauma. You have someone that also has access to resources if they're working with NFL, as far as like media, as far as like lifestyle, things like that. You know what I mean? That can alter the abuse life. So I think that when there's a lack of power and control, I think that can also maybe deter some people from coming forward about the abuse. That can be very intimidating.
We spoke about just having a circle or supporters, and you said that you didn't want to put that trauma onto anyone else. But I think it's also important as, for friends and family who might be listening to this, because I can think of circumstances close to me where I wanted to be a shoulder to lean on. I wanted to be a support system in a situation where there was an imbalance of power or potential domestic violence. So how do you advise people who are trying to be a person who can be supportive to someone who finds themselves in this situation without jeopardizing their safety, overstepping? How do we do that?
Yeah, I think asking how that person wants to be supported. Because even though like from the outside looking in, we can say, okay, well, this is happening. This needs to happen to stop it. And it can seem like so clear as day, like, okay, it's very simple, say this and do this. And it might not be as simple for that person that's being abused to do, or they might not be ready, to take that step in the process of change quite yet. So I think it's always good just to keep things open and just ask that person, how can I support you? If you do feel like you are in danger, I would not probably maybe be physically present, because that may be intimidating. That may feel, that may escalate things. Yeah. But I definitely would ask how would they like to be supported in that situation? And then also there's a lot of resources on the National Domestic Violence Hotline for them to create a safe plan for how to leave. That's so important. Things can't just be done immediately, because that's like the most dangerous time in a relationship, is when they're ready to leave. So yeah. I think creating and developing a tailored plan for that person and just keeping things open, non-judgmental, loving, open, so that, if you do get that call 1 p.m. or 1 a.m., they know they can go somewhere and feel safe and not judged.
Yeah, very important. You're listening to Come Back with Erica Cobb. My guest today is domestic violence survivor and advocate, Alleah Taylor. We're checking in with Aaliyah 2 years, almost 3 years, after her domestic violence brutal attack by former NFL player Chad Wheeler. And Aaliyah is thriving, and we love to see it. I just mentioned that it'll be 3 years in January since this incident happened. Did you ever want to give up on the judicial system? Did you ever, because it's not, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not you against Chad Wheeler, it's the state against Chad Wheeler, correct?
Yeah, okay. It is the state, which I'm so grateful for them and them pouring into the resources and the prosecutors, I wish I could say their names. I want to be respectful, but everyone that worked on this case, as well as my advocate, amazing. Like, I can't say enough, really. They amazing people. And I'm just really grateful.
Yeah. Well, that's important because in the interest of transparency, when your case made headlines, I was very, I was frustrated because I felt like this was a very important story that we needed to be talking about. And I did feel as though if, I was in a position with a platform, like, we need to talk about it. But it felt like it was like a blip, and I saw it for everything that it was. He's an NFL player. He's a white man. The mental health aspect of it, and I'm not diminishing mental health and mental health issues, but to me, the conversation in that moment shouldn't have been about his mental health. It should have been about you, what's happening with you, if you are okay, and supporting you. And you as a Black woman, I knew that most outlets were not going to look at it in terms of, this is the story. Are we protecting people and also seeing the flags for people like Chad Wheeler so that we don't have people having to call themselves now survivors? So I really appreciate you coming back in this forum on the comeback, because I think that this is a comeback a lot of people need to see.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like I had no idea why it was that way with media and whatnot. I mean, we can all have like our speculations, but I have no idea. And again, that ties in with, with people who do have resources and whatnot, who knows what kind of narratives people would prefer. But for me, I just, it would have been nice for people to be a bit more positive. I think the only negative thing I got from it was, or disheartening, was seeing other people, especially from my background, identify as a Black woman, like just seeing other Black people like on Twitter, like calling me like these crazy, like racist things, or, and I'm just like, oh, like I have the same birthday as Martin Luther King Jr. I always march like on my birthday. I always make sure I get back to my community. I've always been very outspoken about being supportive. And just, so it was very disheartening to see that was kind of where people's mind went, like seeing someone that's barely alive and they're just like, like, no offense, I just felt like a lot of incels were just like immediately wanted to jump on calling me horrible names. I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this the one time you see like a beautiful woman that's like down, you try to kick them? It says a lot about a lot of people's ignorance. It was really, that was the only disheartening thing I really felt when it first came out.
Yeah, Aaliyah, I appreciate you giving us more insight as to who you are and where your intentions and all of the beauty lies. But the truth is, you don't have to justify yourself to anyone. You also do not need to try to make sense out of nonsense, and people online disparaging you in your lowest moment on this earth do not deserve that type of energy. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I am not surprised by it. It opens up a whole other layer of misogynoir. It opens up a layer of the inability to protect Black women, regardless of what position we find ourselves in. And that's what I'll say about that, because that's all the breath that deserves.
Yeah, facts.
Yes.
Well said.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that really made me not only want to speak out, because absolutely I wanted your story to be told and to be heard, but you need a village. And I was happy to be a part of that village, because everything that happened to you was so not deserved. So yes, and my community and Comeback is a village. I know a lot of people need to hear from you. They want to hear from you. They want to see you thrive. So we're giving them the tips. We are giving them advice. We're giving them encouragement, all through you being a testimony teacher and your story. So on that note, did Chad ever, because you said that you hadn't seen him in almost 3 years, you hadn't heard from him, correct?
Yeah, only when I had to go like to court for like some of those violations, but other than that, no. Yeah.
was there anything that you ever wanted to say to him directly?
Yeah, like there are some moments where I'm like, I would like to just kind of get things off my chest. But then again, I'm like, you know what? I kind of don't need that. Like, like when we talked a little bit about this, closure, I don't need anything from that man. I don't need to express anything. I felt like him having to see me like ascend and him having to see me like do well, that's good enough. I don't need him. To feel joy. I create that for myself.
Amen to that. Well, when the guilty verdict was read, what was your first thought?
Oh my goodness. I had gotten a call because again, I'm a witness. I can't be there, unfortunately. So I was at home. I got a call from my advocate, and she's like, the first thing she said was guilty. And I'm just like, what? She's just like, he's not guilty. And I'm like, oh. And literally I felt this tingle from like my head all the way to my toes. And I felt frozen. And I was just like, I'm going to cry thinking about it. I was just like, what? Like, it's ending? Like, it felt like it was something that was never going to end. So I was just like, okay, thank you. I was just like, I need some time to process this. And I immediately I prayed. And yeah, I'm so grateful.
Validation should be internal, but the truth is when something happens to us, as this happened to you, there tends to be like some sense of validation or, that you feel like a sense of vindication. Was that your feeling? What was, what was that?
My first, I think, reaction was, oh my goodness, I can go outside and not feel like, he's after me, or not feel like, I might get a notification that he's, going on the rampage. It felt freeing. It really did. And I'm still trying to get used to it. It's been a long time coming. But yeah, no, it just felt so just freeing, and I was able to feel like open, Yeah. That was good. Yeah.
So obviously the guilty verdict is considered justice, but he has yet to be sentenced. So what do you hope that Chad Wheeler receives as a sentence? Is there a number that you have in your head?
Actually, no. He has to serve a minimum of 5 years, but he's looking at possibly 12. So I don't really have the number, I think any time in prison for him, I'm kind of grateful for.
Yeah.
Just any time for him to have a mindful moment, by himself, away from his family, away from his friends that seem to be enabling. And when things kind of come out with the case, I think it'd be good for him to kind of take some time away from them and kind of focus on building who he is and who he wants to be going forward. Hopefully better man. So yeah, I think that would be good.
Well, how is this? Because I appreciate, and you still, it's interesting to me because you still handle the way that you speak about him with so much care, and far more care than was shown to you. So I'm curious how this incident has impacted your personal life.
Yeah, I just don't think it's I don't really want to get too far into bashing. I will just say the facts of what has happened and what he did. And yes, this is wrong and whatnot, but I feel like it's far more better for me to lead by example. I'd rather show some class and not have to be so nasty towards him or whatnot. I don't have to. I didn't win this case or give justice by doing that. So I don't feel like I have to do that after. Yeah, no, I don't have to lower myself.
Yeah. So that really just speaks volumes about who you are and where your heart lies. Have you felt comfortable getting back into dating? Have you felt comfortable trusting your heart with anyone else since this time?
Yeah, actually, I am kind of comfortable more with like dating, and I do feel comfortable with that. It did take me a while. I wanted to go through therapy, wanted to feel a bit more comfortable with being around a man. But now I'm, kind of a little bit out there, a little comfortable with it.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have, I mean, so many people get stuck in, and I don't say stuck as dismissive, but you can, when you go through trauma, you can get stuck there. It can hold you. So I'm happy to hear that you are moving forward. What about your professional life? Has this changed anything about that?
Oh my goodness, yeah, totally. I just remember being like in practice sometimes, like because my background's in project management. I manage offices, so I manage like primary care, and I switch over to dental offices. And I just remember being in an office, and people would just like, they would Google your coworkers, Google you, or walk in on conversations kind of about it. And,
Oh, God.
so it'd be kind of uncomfortable a little bit, sometimes being in an office. So now I just kind of help outside the office, and I model majority of the time. Just like I kind of like separate myself from those too close encounters of having to either relive it or just be that person that people try to attach that to. So, and when I'm in practice, it's like a totally different person. I'm very stoic. I'm very, I'm the manager, so I'm very, very not strict. I'm very focused on what's going on, very present in the practice. And I just feel like your personal life should be left outside, anything, because I really want to be present for patients. I really want to be present for my team. I just remember that being kind of awkward, kind of like, oh, this is, a little weird. But it is fine. Yeah. I have to say that was a little awkward.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Who wants, and also this isn't something you signed up for. So the idea that people are having conversations and you're overhearing it's triggering. And I think for anyone who's listening who might have found themselves in this situation or someone that they love, what do you want to say to other people who have found themselves like in this situation about reclaiming your power, your joy, your life?
Oh, again, I would say be holding and being present and what brings you joy and what you define as success, being mindful of that, and really walking by faith, not by fear. Please don't allow others, as I think, especially when you're embarking in this kind of situation, especially if you're going to get someone of power or let's even say on a local level, some that might even be very popular, you might have a community of people that are telling you don't do it or are might not be in your best interest, protecting you. Again, just please be mindful, please be protect yourself and create a plan for yourself. Yourself or your children as well. I don't want to say be like selfish, but you really, want people to be present. Yeah, I really want them to really be present and do it for themselves,
I am going to assume by giving some of this advice that there were a demographic of people who attempted to dissuade you from testifying.
Oh yeah, not really from testifying, because I know that everyone in my life knows that if once I've made up my mind, there is no telling no.
Yeah.
So I think that they knew that I was definitely going to be testifying. I think it was more so like just throughout the years, people not really wanting to like not support too much. People are just kind of feeling I guess I don't really want to say like embarrassed, but just not really wanting to be attached to it because of the negativity some people had on Twitter, So I really lost like a lot of like close friends or family members, that were there in the beginning. I think that it just became too tough for them to really support throughout that. But it's funny because like after I won, they all kind of came back around, and I was just like, you weren't shit with me in the gym. I cannot accept that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fair. I think a lot of whether it's something that is as traumatic as what happened to you or just the ebbs and flows of life, it's always very revealing to look back and see who was there, because I'm sure those people were there asking for tickets to games. I'm sure those people were there when, when times were good. So when you go through something and it really shows you who rides with you and who doesn't, then you have to keep a strength and an armor to know that you can't unsee what you've been shown. So I appreciate you being honest about that. Like, you weren't doing reps in the gym with me. So to try to come
totally,
and celebrate. I do have to ask you, because we mentioned that your left arm was dislocated. How is your arm today?
Yeah, like I still wear my brace from time to time. I mean, it does get step a bit. Um, yeah, it's still going to be like an ongoing thing where every now and then I'm going to have to wear my brace, try to like stretch it out a little bit. But it's not something I allow to like hold me back. Like even when I do photo shoots, I even ask them like not to edit it out all the way. Like, like I don't mind it. I feel like that scar builds character for me. It's a part of my story.
Yeah. Wow. That is a very inspirational way of looking at that, as a reminder of maybe how far you've come. Also, you've become an advocate for domestic abuse victims. So how are you changing the conversation?
Oh my goodness. I really want people to be focused on, knowing that there is a civil line, know that there is justice, because it's a long process. It can actually be very scary, to even work the way up to possibly pressing charges, or even just working your way up to possibly leaving the relationship. So I want people to know that there's someone there that understands all of those emotions and all the intricacies, and is non-judgmental, no matter what. And to know that there are resources, and that there are people out there that are understanding and that want to support you. You're not alone. So I really want that to really drive home, because I feel like it can be very difficult, especially speaking on my experience. There's a lot of times I was alone. I was just like, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I ask? Who do I trust? So I really want people to be mindful that there are people like me that are genuinely care about you, and to please, seek help, seek community, seek support. Yeah.
And that's very sage advice. And I hope that people listen to that and are actually going to implement it in their own lives. Can you talk about House Bill 1901, because it did pass in Washington State Senate, regarding restraining orders? Yes.
Yes. And just like coercive control, but wasn't just me. There were so many women and men up here in Washington State that helped support that bill, and it's going to help support so many people that have had to deal with coercive control, which is kind of controlling someone kind of through the legal system. That could be financial abuse. That could be communication through the legal system as well. That could be, financial abuse is very prevalent throughout the legal system. That can even be, let's say, they're trying to figure out a way for them to move the child's dental office, whatnot. The husband can go and file all these motions and whatnot and prolong them just moving the child's dental office for months. Now imagine like all the money, everything, they've gone back and forth, that the mother might even be able to work the losing her job because she's had to miss work for so long going to court. Things like that, They're going to be able to identify these things and have training for lawyers, possibly judges, everyone within the legal system to be able to identify these things and be able to treat these cases, properly, and be able to better support survivors that are going through this. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. And I hope that this definitely helps and supports and saves some lives.
Alleah Taylor, you are the absolute truth. I appreciate your time so much. Is there anything you would like to share with our comeback community before I let you go?
I just want everyone to treat every day like it's a blessing, treat it like it's opportunity, and just be mindful of how you treat each other, so that's it.
I love your spirit. You are absolutely a shining example to so many people. I just want to remind my audience, both viewers and listeners, if you or someone that you know is struggling with domestic violence and need help, if you're listening, go to the show notes. We have a link in the bio and on YouTube. Please call or contact the number here. Alleah Taylor, thank you so much. I am so happy to have you on Comeback because it's so meaningful. I'm very proud of you and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah,
Thank
take
you
care.
for listening.